Coming up on today's show.
And so therefore, when things get tough, because organizing is not easy, not even for us professionals, it is something that you have to revisit often.
Take us through maybe what's going through the mind of somebody who feels like they're in this situation.
So when people who don't have the natural ability to get organized or stay organized, I think the 5 W's and 1 H, it's something that most people already are familiar with. You can maybe walk yourself through these questions for yourself.
Why you're failing at getting organized today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today we are going to diagnose one of your biggest issues, and that is why you are failing at getting organized. You know, a lot of people struggle with just even getting started or the concept, or they just throw up their hands and say, I can't get organized. I just can't do it. And they become what they, in their mind, is a failure. But we're going to debunk that, we're going to get over that, and we're going to bring in, let me see if I can pronounce the name right, Sarah Karakainen?
That's really close.
Is it really? Karakainen, yeah. Okay. And you are from Nesters.com, a professional organizer with a NAPO, which is they changed the name on this too, National Association of Productivity and Professional Organizers. Is that what it is?
That's right. Organizing professionals. Yeah, that way we can still keep the acronym that we already have in place. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, it's so great to have you, your first time with us. And I know that name aside and NAPO's name aside, we've got a great concept here we're going to talk about is why people are failing. And so let's just dig right into it right now. Why are people failing at getting organized?
So I picked that title, number one, because it's eye-catching, right? Why you fail, it's kind of negative, and it's just kind of like, but it speaks to the heart because people feel like they fail over and over again. That's why I get phone calls to come help. But the word in there, why you're failing at getting organized, that word why, that's my biggest now coaching point when I go to meet with clients is we don't even start with the hands-on stuff. What I want you to address is the why do you want to get organized? And I feel like people aren't digging deep enough, finding their why. And so therefore, when things get tough, because organizing is not easy, not even for us professionals, it is something that you have to revisit often. So when you don't have a why, when it's not big enough for you, when times get tough, you're going to throw your hands up in the air.
Right. So this kind of sounds like maybe this is a theory of yours, right? I mean, obviously you've been in the professional organizing business for several years. Kind of take us through maybe what's going through the mind of somebody who feels like they're in this situation. Sure.
So yes, I think it's kind of like the theory behind organizing, I think. And if you remember when you were in high school or even in college and you were in your English class or your journalism class, then your teacher wanted you to find the 5 W's and the 1 H, right? Your who, what, where, when, why, and then how. And I think the same thing goes for when you're tackling anything in life that's going to take you and catapult you from where you are right now to where you would like to be. So when people who don't have the natural ability to get organized or stay organized, I think the 5 W's and 1 H, it's something that most people already are familiar with. You can maybe walk yourself through these questions for yourself and maybe get a grasp on what the real issue is, because then it's going to be easier to hit it head on. Yeah,
let's go through those and maybe use an example of a client, the 5 W's. I know that's from the investigative journalism school too that I attended.
Yes.
You know, you want to get into that, and probably when you're meeting a client for the first time, you need to, get some information from them. So let's kind of talk maybe about a previous client of yours. You don't have to use their name or anything, but kind of like what those turned out to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I like to go in order, although my favorite question is the what, because the what is your why is my question for you. Okay. But the first one is, who will hold you accountable, right? Who, what, where, when, and why. The first one is who. Okay. Who's going to hold you accountable? Now, let's take an imaginary client who this client repeats himself often in, I know, a lot of professional organizers, Rolodex, if you will. But a lot of people will come to you and say, my spouse isn't really on board. They don't think we have a problem, or they don't want to spend time getting organized. So if it's not your spouse or your partner or a roommate, you can still get organized. You just have to find out who that accountability partner is. Of course, I think hiring a professional organizer is a great accountability partner, because a lot of us are members of NAPO, we receive education, and we love helping people. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of our thing. But if it's not a professional organizer, if you've got a friend who's on board who will take you seriously, maybe it's a friend. But you have to have someone who's going to hold you accountable. And there's lots of fun ways that you can do that. Maybe every night before you go to bed. And I'm kind of diving in here a little bit. But
That's fine. It's good.
A lot of people, I think there is not one way for someone to get organized. There are lots of different organizing tricks and hacks out there, and one of them is going to speak to you. I know one will. So let's just, for example, start with those people who like to start small, right? They don't want to take on too much too soon, because it's just going to be overwhelming for them. So for example, this imaginary client that we have, let's say she likes to start small. So let's say her friend says, great, let's just start with the kitchen sink, right? The sink in your kitchen. Every night before you go to bed, I want you to take a picture of the sink, because I want you to do the dishes and just clear it up, put the soap really nice, dry it all off. So in the morning, even if the countertops next to it are full of sippy cups and plastic bowls or whatever you have, that's fine. I want your sink to be tidy, and I want that to be your one little thing, right? So the accountability partner then maybe receives a picture, text, or an email every night before you go to bed. And if you don't send it, they're going to ask you for it. Mm-hmm. So just someone to help you stay on track. You need that person that's who is going to help hold you accountable.
Yeah, I know in a lot of the podcasts, we've even done podcasts on accountability as well, because that human factor is really, I think, huge. And it's where a coach comes in, or even a friend. But when you know someone else is involved, it's going to be big. All right, let's move on to the next W then.
Yes, this is my favorite one, and probably the most tough to answer. And now it starts with the word what, but then it ends with the word why. So what is your why? Why do you want to get organized? For people, it's just because when people come over my house, I feel ashamed that my house is unorganized. Okay. But at the end of the day, most people will still have friends come over regardless. Maybe they do a quick cleaning and shove things in a closet just so the house looks and appears clean. And then you have a good time.
Right.
Now, that's not the case for everyone, and I understand that. But a lot of people, you might say that, but what's deeper than that? Do you get in fights with your spouse because the clutter stresses you out? Is it as deep as you want a more fulfilling marriage so that you're not focusing on all this clutter around you, that you can focus on your partner? Maybe it's the fact that, it stresses you out, and so you take out that stress on your children. I mean, there are many different whys, and I just think it's deeper than that aesthetic that we all think organizing is revolved around. Yes, being organized sometimes makes your home look more attractive, but a lot of the time it just takes this weight off your shoulders that you might then be projecting that weight on work or on kids or on your partner or your spouse. So is that your why? And if it gets real deep like that, I mean, I've had clients, when we really dig in deep, they start tearing up because I've hit a chord, or they've hit their own chord. Right. I'm just kind of trying to get it out of them. And so once we find that thing that really gets you emotionally attached, the reason why you've hired an organizer or you've reached out to a friend and admitted that you had this issue that you'd like to tackle, then I have them write it down with their hand, not just type it out, because I think handwriting is just so much more powerful.
Right. And
figure out what that reason, what that why is, and figure out what that why is, write it down and put it on your bathroom mirror, or put it in your closet door, wherever that you're going to see it often. And hopefully it'll strike that chord, because it's going to get tough to get organized, because we're after that kitchen sink, we're going to expand beyond that. So you got to go back to the reason why.
Well, I know, and when we first started talking here too, the why is so important. We're going to come back and visit that again too here in a little more depth. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, let's get through the rest of the W's and kind of wrap this thing up. So we're with Sarah Karakayan and talking about why you are failing at organizing, and we'll be right back.
Now there's a place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life. a special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganize.life. It's just for you. myorganize.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganize.life. myorganize.life.
We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about why you are failing at getting organized and some of the things associated with that. And our newest podcast guest here, first time, Sarah Karakan from Nesters.com. And Sarah, before the break, we were kind of into the W's of, we did the who and we did the what that leads to the why. Right. What else? We got a couple more left there, I believe.
Yes. Yes. And the rest of these are a little more easier to tackle.
Yes.
Once you get through the what is your why, the rest of them are kind of like they flow from that. So these will be pretty quick.
What's next?
So as we know, it's the who, what, and then it's the where. So where should you start? Now, hopefully once you know your why, that can help me maybe figure out, okay, so if it's because you've got a lot of stress with a lot of clutter around your house and it's affecting your marriage, ultimately, okay, so what then do you and your spouse, what space do you getting, maybe tips over or argue over who's going to clean it? What's that one little pain point in your home? Maybe we should start small there. Now, some people like to start big. I'll have people who they get their why. I really believe that they're committed to making a change. And so I go over for a weekend and help them. We knock out, an entire living room, bathroom, and bedroom. But some people like to start small. So where should you start? It's a very personal question. Yep. It's different for every person. But once you figure out that spot in your home, the kitchen sink, the bathroom, vanity, whatever that is for you, and whatever supports that why that we talked about, that's where you should start.
Yeah, I think it's important too. People sometimes get overwhelmed by the whole, project. And if we can start one place, that's going to at least get the ball rolling.
I think so. Most people, I think, operate like that. Yes.
Awesome. All right. What's the next W?
Okay, so when you have your where, then you have your when. And I'm kind of a stickler on this. I often actually, a lot of my clients, it helps them when I compare organizing to losing weight, because it's something that a lot of people, if they don't experience themselves, they know someone who has struggled with weight loss, right? Mm-hmm. So the when should you start? It's always like, well, I'll wait till after the holidays or after the new year, because you want to indulge that whole time and not worry about that goal you have of losing weight or maintaining a weight. But if you're serious about making a life change, once you figure out that why, that deep meaning about why you want to change your life, then I say today is the day you have to start, because those holidays are always going to come around or what have you, or the kids are always going to have busy schedules. Your work is not going to slow down. So we got to start that life change today. So when should you start? Although I think the answer should always be now. I let my clients kind of figure that out in their head, and hopefully we come to that agreement that today is the day to start.
Okay, that's great. And I think too, even in traditional task management, you want to get things, ultimately you got to get them on a calendar, right? You got to get a start date and maybe a deadline. So I think that's a real key thing in moving along, is being able to have a time frame to work with, so so it's not someday.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, what's left now?
Okay, so then, although this starts with why, it's why have you failed in the past? And I think a lot of people, once we go through these questions, they say, well, because my why wasn't big enough. I attribute it to being, something about aesthetics of my home or being embarrassed, but really it's much deeper than that. And that's why I failed. Or maybe you failed because you didn't have an accountability partner, right, or you waited to start and so you kept pushing it off, or whatever that is. Again, it's very personal, but I think saying it out loud and owning up to the reason why you failed is going to help you make changes this time around.
Okay, great. So we've kind of covered those areas. Did we get into the why deep enough though? Because I'm sensing from talking through these things that the why piece of it is really kind of like the key piece, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is. So I really enjoy running my organizing business. Okay. I really, really do. And in the first year or two of it, I I was learning a lot because it was a first-time business owner. And I came across a gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of him?
I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with the material. So.
Yeah. So, and I know your audience, not everyone's a business owner, but he talks about finding your why, because he says, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it, right? The story behind something, kind of like that nucleus around that entire atom, like what's at the core of it. And I think that can translate to our organizing clients and the everyday person, that if you don't have that core of the problem, if you don't say it out loud, and sometimes it's you're not going to maybe find it in that 1 or 2 hour session with your organizer or over a cup of coffee with your friend, but it might go over in your head when you're going to bed that night or in the morning, or maybe when you're in that pain point and you're fighting with your spouse about the vanity. You're like, this is my why. I love my spouse, and I know that we don't need to be fighting over the fact that the toothpaste is gone and it hasn't been replaced yet. I mean, the real reason for that might be a little deeper. And so that's kind of why you want to get a hold of creating a system within your home to make the home flow better, to ultimately, improve those relationships with those around you. I mean, again, I keep going back to that one example, but the examples really are endless. It could be a lot of different things.
Well, too, in a lot of business planning books, when you're goal setting, I mean, why is a big topic out there. And so I think it's one of those things that I've heard in the past too, that when the going gets tough, that's what kind of keeps you going, that you know why you're doing it. And the how and the what and the when and all those other things are, more tactical, but that why is the heart behind it, what's really keeping you going. Now in a plan like this, is there anything else you have to do or to take into consideration to get people away from failure and into success?
Well, I think then we left out the H. It used to be the 5 W's and 1 H, but this answers your question.
Okay.
It's how will you approach organizing differently than you did in the past, right? So the whole question I asked at the beginning is why you're failing at getting organized, the reason why you're failing. Okay, great. So now we went through all those things, and you have that why, and you've written it down with your hand, and it strikes a chord in your heart or in your stomach, that thing that really it gives you goosebumps because you said it out loud. It was hard to say, but you've got it on paper now. You can see it, and you put it, on your vanity or wherever in your home. So, okay, how are you going to approach it differently this time? Well, this time I'm going to get an accountability partner. Yes. So maybe I'm going to reach out to a NAPA organizer or this friend that I can tell anything to, or whoever that person is for you. Maybe that's the thing that's going to help you approach it differently. Or this time, last time I tried to do my whole house in one go and it was just too much. So this time I'm going to start small and slow, right? So we're going to do the kitchen sink organizing for 2 weeks. It sounds like a lot, but for 2 weeks every night, I want you to email that picture of that kitchen sink by, the certain time. And at that 2 weeks is done, if you've done it, okay, so let's expand on a little bit. So what can we change from the reasons you failed in the past and make actionable steps to make this time, it's got to be different. Or you're going to have those same results, and you're going to keep being frustrated with the process. And I just don't want anyone to give up, because I think having systems in your home or systems in your schedule can really make life so much more enjoyable.
Awesome. This is incredible. Well, Sarah, before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to let people know how they can get a hold of you, and maybe you're available as an accountability partner or just to help coach people through this. So how do people reach out to you and get their questions answered?
Absolutely. So my favorite spot is my home on the web, which is www.nesters.com. That's NESTRS. So we leave that E out at the end. But we're also incredibly active on Instagram. We're NESTRS, just Nesters on Instagram. Direct message us, send us an email, which you can find via the website. I do provide virtual organizing sessions, but even if you just have a quick question or whatever, I really just love helping people, and that's what that's why I do what I do. So feel free to always reach out, and I love connecting with anyone who has questions, or just maybe other organizers who are listening who want to maybe just nerd out on the topic. Yeah. So.
Well, you also have an Airbnb kind of renovate and remodel service and stuff like that too. So you got a lot of other things going on as well. Where's your Airbnb in case someone wants to come stay?
Yeah, so that's the reason we picked Nesters for our name, because we're all about nesting in a home, whether it's your
Nice.
short-term home, a long-term home, your own home. Right now, we've got 2 Airbnbs in Columbus, Ohio,
Awesome.
and we're looking really to expand to, we're looking at a few properties in Birmingham, Alabama, Seattle, Washington. We had one in New York, but we closed that one down. So we love the short-term rental experience, your home away from home. So
Awesome.
yeah, great.
Well, Sarah, so great having you on. Great job. It's a great topic, and I hope to have you on again soon.
I really appreciate the opportunity, John. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Now you are no longer a failure. You have the things that you need to conquer. Check out the 5 W's and the H. Get an accountability partner. I think you'll be on your way to being organized real soon. And we'll see you next time on Keeping You Organized.